since we're talking about it.
Yeah.
Um, how does Tolkien feel about fate?
About fate?
Yeah, like, does he feel like you write your own destiny kind of deal, or whatever you do doesn't matter because things are gonna go in a way that's already decided?
That's an interesting question. I think that's why Lord of the Rings is the best of what he wrote in terms of that, because everything basically is in a way uh, scripted. That everything is fated. But I think what he was trying to say, and you see it the best in Lord of the Rings, is that even if things are fated to happen a certain way, it's your solidarity with the people that you love and that you care for that's going to carry you through and help you to overcome it. It's kind of embraces both concepts in the sense that he's saying, yes, it's fated, right? Like, this is going to happen. This is meant to happen. Nothing really you can do to change it. But within that context, you can change how you behave and how you interact with other people. And it is that's going to make the difference.
Like, you can change your reaction to the inevitable fate.
He's basic, yeah, and he's basically, it's kind of like an anti-war, because he went through World War One, right? It's an
Yeah.
anti-war book. It's an anti-war book and an anti-war epic in the sense that if you look at Lord of the Rings, when you've got Gandalf, when you finally when you're getting to the big finale, you've got Gandalf, Strider, the king of the line of the men of the West. You've got Legolas. Everybody's represented. Everybody on the good side and everybody on the bad side. And he basically is saying, all of you together at this point are not strong enough to defeat that evil by fighting.
Which is crazy.
Yeah, by fighting. The fighting is not, but this is a very important message. Like, fighting is not going to resolve this problem. What is going to resolve this problem? Two little hobbits that are so small and so minuscule they are worthless on the battlefield, but they are making the greatest sacrifice by sacrificing the ring into the volcano. And what is the ring? The ring is our greed. The ring is our need to be greedy, our need to be possessive, our need to be in control, our need to have power over other people. All these things are encapsulated in the ring for a reason. And he's saying you got to let all of that go as a person, as a human being, to really defeat evil. You got to let all of that go. You fighting, it's like the Russia, Ukraine, America thing in Israel. Like, in that, nobody wins that battle. When both sides are that strong, you're not going to win. You got to stop with the fighting. You got to let
Yeah.
go.
There's just destruction at that
Because
point.
because when you think about the people that are so about war, they want to make money off of it. They want to have control over it. They want to seize power over it. They're obsessed with that, and that's what the ring is. That's literally what the ring is, and what Sauron is supposed to embody, because he makes the ring. The whole reason why this is even important, and the whole reason why the ring is of any significance, which who knows if they'll get to it, is because Sauron imbued the rings, and then the one ring that controls them all. That's also kind of funny, right? Because it's like he makes rings for he makes 3 rings for the elves, he makes 7 rings for the dwarves, and he makes 9 rings for human beings. So for them to have power, each in different ways, right?
Right.
Using what each of them wants to do. So like the elves want to preserve nature and beauty. So their rings gives them power to basically kind of freeze time, right? The dwarves are obsessed with gold and mining, right? So their rings give them the ability to discover, the jewels of the earth, and
Okay, yeah.
but also because of that they become obsessed with it. And the 9 rings for men basically gives them what men want, which is the power to become kings and rule over people and have kingdoms. But all of those rings are subservient to his ring, right? Meaning, like
Right.
the moment any of them put one of those rings, he now has like he now has the Google over it. You know,
Yeah, no, like
he can
it's
immediately find you, and he can immediately turn that ring on or off, and you know what I mean. So the moment you fall for the
yeah,
trap, which is genius, if you think about it, that Tolkien came up with this before any of this technology was available. It's like when you turn on your phone, Google knows where you're going, right? When you turn on the Tesla, Elon Musk knows where you're driving. That's what the
yeah,
ring is. The moment you put on one of the other rings, he knows what you're doing, what you're up to, what you want to do with it, and he can control you through it and make you do what he wants to do in the end, which is why he even did it. And the whole thing is obsession
yeah,
with control and power. And what Tolkien is saying is you need to let it go. And it's the little people that are so small, right? Like the poor people, the small folk in House of the Dragon. It's the small folk.
right,
It's the small folk who don't have any of that, but love each other and want to help each other, and have no desire to control and power because they don't even know what that even is in their life, who are the ones that can save the world because they will let it go. They will throw that ring into
exactly.
the volcano. And that is why it is such a powerful message.
It's not this supernatural being that is saving the world, is the fact that the small people give up on the greediness that comes with the society expectation and stuff, and
Yes.
actually heal the world that way. But I feel like his message is very anti-capitalism and
Oh
this and
yeah,
that.
anti-capitalism, anti-destroying nature. This is the nightmare of someone like him, right? Because you can do those things without destroying nature. There's a way to do it, and we just don't care. You let go of that, and you actually have a chance. But you could have all the power in the world against me, against the evil, whatever, and or you're gonna succeed is in destroying everything. You're not gonna succeed through war.
Right.
Tolkien was the only one within this genre that gave us like a solution to that, where he was like, here's a solution. You might not want to hear it and you might not want to understand it. And here we are, like 2024, and we don't. You're going to destroy yourself if you continue on this path rather than learn how to live with each other, learn to let go of, learn to share, learn to let go. I think the biggest problem that people have is sharing, is understanding sharing. And you learn that
100%.
at home. Like you learned that at home with your, if you don't teach your kids, your brother and sisters to share, then that's it, you're fucked because you're going to grow up that way. That's why Lord of the Rings is really what he wanted to write and the culmination of it all, and everything else around it is kind of just getting us to that point. Doesn't mean that there aren't amazing stories within that have their own uh, points. If you look at the story of Beren and Luthien, I mean, you couldn't have a more LGBTQ friendly story right there because it's a story of two people that come from two different races, right? You could say that
Right.
you could say that's an analogy for different genders, different people from different cultures, anything, right? That they're not supposed
Right.
to be together. They're not allowed to be together. A human and an elf that's half elf, half godly, whatever you want to call it, and despite all of the difficulties and all of the it's not quite a Romeo and Juliet story, but despite all the adversity, they stuck by each other and they even sacrificed for each other. I mean, so that and
Which is,
that's a
yeah.
good story too in and of itself, within the story of the bigger legend, But the big
Yeah.
legend, the big picture stuff is that there's always two sides fighting for control, and that both sides are wrong. And in this world, it's Sauron's people, if you want to call it that, the people behind Sauron and that energy, and then the elves. He's not saying the elves are necessarily better. He's saying that they have different goals that are at least that are meant. In other words, he's saying even when you want to do a good thing, you could be wrong, right? Even
Right.
if you're
The
stuck,
end doesn't justify the
right?
means.
Just because you think it's
Right.
the right thing, that it's going to help me or help whatever, I'm telling you, you're not helping. So just stop. And that's even that is that's where the elves are at, right? Where the elves are like, oh, but we want to preserve nature and we want to, and he's saying even that's wrong because nature has to take its course. You can't just freeze it. You can't just take an exotic bird and put it in a cage and be like, oh yeah, that's I'm preserving it. Well, but you're taking it out of its natural habitat, and now they're going extinct out there, and you're just preserving it in a cage. That's not the same thing anymore. Try how about preserving,
Exactly.
you know what I mean? So that's another aspect in all
Mm-hmm.
of this where the elves, they're not like, this isn't like they're angels and that's evil. This is like two different sides that have different goals, but they're both, one's bad and one's good, but even the good is going about it a wrong way. And the whole lesson of this entire arc is to get to the point of the hobbits where it's like it's the small folk that have the right answer. The people that are not obsessed with control, the people that care about each other, the people that are willing to sacrifice for each other, the people that are willing to enjoy moments with each other, that are the ones that know the solution to this. That's who we want to be. That's who we should all want to be, not all this other crap.
It's a really powerful message that is crazy how relevant it is nowadays
Yeah.
still. I think it wouldn't be a classic of literature if it wasn't constantly relevant.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
that's what I feel he really nailed in that sense. And I don't know,
Yeah.
I don't think it was like his goal to um, be relevant 100 years from him, but just he wanted people to understand
Yeah.
important life lessons.
Yeah.
And but he explained them so well and made them so relatable to so many things that happened
Mhm.
in the past 100 years that is like almost scary how
Yeah.
word for word it's everything that we're caring about in our generation.
But you can even just
Yep.
simplify. You can simplify it even more and say, let's say the ring is nuclear weapons, right? He's saying throw it in the
Yeah.
volcano. You don't need it, right? And basically, until we learn to stop creating like we say, oh, we don't want Iran to have nuclear weapons, we don't want Russia to have nuclear weapons because this that. Nobody should have them. How about everybody should
Yep.
just stop? If everybody agreed that it is completely ridiculous for anyone to have them to begin with and everybody just destroyed them, we would that's the lesson Tolkien's giving us. You know what I mean? That's the lesson he's saying.
Yeah.
Throw it in the volcano. Be done with it. Don't even have it. But everybody's like, well, I don't want to throw it in first because what if I throw it in and then you don't throw it? Well, then now you're playing. That's exactly what happened with Isildur. That's exactly what happened with
Yep.
Isildur when he fought a Sauron the last time. I think that's after this in Rings of Power, but before Lord of the Rings, the last alliance of men and elves, which probably will be towards one of the later seasons of this, is Isildur fights Sauron with Elrond and Círdan. They defeat him. This one that we're seeing now, he gets defeated. They take the ring, and Isildur was supposed to destroy it, and instead he's like, "Oh, but what if I can use it to be a good king?" No, you just lost. You lost, and
Yeah.
the moment he did that, he got attacked by like I
Yep.
think it was trolls or whatever. No, the orcs, and that's how he lost it in the river, and it ended up being with Gollum, who then has it in Lord of the Rings, as we already know.
Yep.
You see what I mean?
That's the most common mistake that people do, even again to make it relevant to again to nowadays, like, oh, but what if I use it for good? And we were talking about it earlier as well, but
Yep.
like you can never be sure that one, you are never gonna make choices that are gonna hinder that purpose that you want to keep, but second of all, that other people aren't gonna try to steal it from you again. it is a powerful
Correct.
weapon that shouldn't be there,
Right.
and it brings discord more than it brings peace. The
Right.
sole existence of it does.
Right.
So it's not the fact
Yes.
that you're using it for good, it's the fact that it exists.
Right.
That's the problem.
And by you even having it, you're putting everybody in jeopardy, right? You're
Exactly.
so
Yeah.
why even have it? That's the whole premise of this entire story is learning that lesson. And like you said, here we are and we still haven't learned it. We still want to play with fire. We still want to pretend that one of us can have the ring and bring peace to the world, right? And it's like, no, as
Yeah.
long as anybody has it, as long as it exists, as long as you're playing that game, everyone's in jeopardy.